did I get seduced by the Lotus Emira? And if I could do it again, how would I do it differently? You know, a big part of this purchase was about, this car is 2.5 times the price of my Mazda Miata. Does it give me 2.5 times the enjoyment and fun of my Miata? Expensive cars are a trap, and I fell for it. I thought that buying my attainable dream car would make me happier, and spoiler alert, it didn't. If I could do things all over again, I'd actually do it differently. So what happened was, I worked my tail off in college while battling an autoimmune condition, inflammatory bowel disease. Got into med school with full tuition scholarship because I was so hardcore in college. Worked my tail off in med school again, mashed into plastic surgery, built some businesses on the side while working these 80-hour weeks in plastic surgery residency. Decided to risk it all, leave plastic surgery, and go all in on my businesses. And after more than a decade of grinding my face off, I felt like, yeah, I deserve something like this. But to understand all of that, let's go for a drive, and I'm going to tell you about my car ownership journey. So the first car I bought, my first proper sports car, was a 2013 Scion FRS, the base, the cheapest one. It was like $24,000 brand new with the July 4th discount. And I loved that car. I babied it. It represented so much pain and struggle and suffering to get to that point. And I got it front PPF'd, spent like $1,000 on that, got it opti-coated. I would wash it by myself every time using the 2-bucket method, even when I was really busy, because I didn't want any swirl marks. I was obsessed with that car because it meant so much in terms of the sentimental value, the pain, the struggle of getting to that point, right? Being able to get that med school scholarship and such, pushing through IBD, all those things. I babied it. I kept it for 9 years, and it was only in like year 7 or 8, maybe year 7, that I realized, what am I doing? I'm gonna sell this car eventually. I'm not gonna keep it for the rest of my life, even though I thought I would when I first bought it, because a lot of us young car enthusiasts are kind of silly like that. We get overly sentimental about these things. And I realized this is a tool to bring me happiness. There's no point in me babying a car to try to, you know, preserve it as much as possible for the next person. I need to extract all the value, memories, and joy out of this. Get the most for my money in terms of experience. So I did everything in the most intentional and intelligent way in terms of like prepping the car, getting an oil cooler, regular oil change, all that stuff. Let the car also get to operating temperature. But after that, I beat the fucking shit out of it, man. I would redline this thing, going all the way up Palomar Mountain in San Diego. I'd take it to track days. I went on these long road trips. I wanted to get the most value and memories out of that car. It was the one and only car I ever named, Bianca. I'm not gonna name any cars ever again. I think it's a little bit cringe, but it was so meaningful, such a sentimental car that I named it, I babied it, and only at the end of the ownership experience did I realize there's no point babying it. This thing is a tool to bring me happiness. After the FRS, which was about 9 years of ownership, I had a 2023, maybe a 2022 Toyota GR86 base Neptune Blue that I kept for 2 years. And it was better than the FRS in most ways, except the steering was lacking, and that always bothered me. But apart from that, you know, more stiff chassis, better balance, not as prone to understeer, and you know, more powerful engine, address the torque dip. Still not a great engine, but I had a lot of fun there. And then I traded in the GR86 and I bought this Lotus Emira. And the reason I chose the Lotus Emira, it really spoke to me in terms of what it stood for. First of all, it's beautiful, which doesn't hurt, but it has hydraulic steering, and I am obsessive about steering. The level of communication through a Lotus hydraulic or unassisted rack is phenomenal. Double wishbone in all 4 corners, manual transmission, mid-engine, rear-wheel drive. I felt like I was ready for this next step in the journey. Rotation, baby! But I actually think going from GR86 to Emira was too big of a jump, and it wasn't optimal from a life enjoyment perspective, because we all adapt to this hedonic treadmill, right? We keep upgrading our lives and we adjust to the new baseline. So the game is to actually slowly and steadily increase things with time. That's why when it comes to airlines and hotels, I started with the most basic budget shit and took a small jump up to from like basic economy to regular economy to premium economy to business class. I still haven't flown first, right? Slowly and steadily upping the game, because you then get a little bit of a hit, that dopamine hit with every step up. With the car, going from GR86 to Emira, it's a big jump. You want to have, rather than having few big jumps, you want to have a lot of little jumps. So I wish I went from GR86 to maybe a Supra or a base level Cayman, and then from there go to a Cayman GTS 4.0 or a Lotus Emira, and then after that go to the next thing, and so on. That is the way that you can extend your happiness and enjoyment from cars, from upgrading, versus just going to the most, the best or most expensive thing that you can afford at the time. Next up, the financial implications of buying your attainable dream car. Of course, it's not cheap. And I was very careful, as I think you guys should be as well, to make sure I wasn't buying more car than I could afford. I have my own internal rules. You can create your own. They can be based on income or net worth or a combination of the two. And I stuck to that. So I felt like I could comfortably afford the car. I wanted to also make sure I first had a house. I had all my debt cleared other than my mortgage on my house. And I was in a good financial position where the monthly payments and the down payment weren't a big deal. That being said, the monthly payment on this car is more than $3,000, which is a lot. That's more than my mortgage on my house. Granted, the mortgage on my house, I got a 2.5%. Interest rate on this is like, I don't know, 4%, 3.9, something like that. And the reason why I could get that low interest rate on the car, relatively speaking, is because I chose a 36-month payment term. With a longer payment term, your interest rate is going to be higher. You're going to pay a lot more in interest. Even if your monthly payment amount goes down, you're paying it for a larger number of months, and therefore you're paying much more in the long term. But the difference between a car and a house is that the house, it's generally appreciating in value in most places in the US, whereas a car, at least a car like this, is definitely not. And you have to keep in mind that you want to project these things. Now, when I actually buy cars, I track my net worth and all that stuff, my finances, using Empower. You can actually use the link in the description, get a little gift card when you sign up using my link. And on that, I will have the liability of a car loan, but I will not put in the value of my car. So I want to always underestimate things, because I want to be in a position where I'm pleasantly surprised and not negatively surprised. I'm like, oh my God, I thought I was worth more, or I had more financial flexibility, but in reality, I was overestimating the value of my car, whatever. So I will put the debt of my car as a car loan in my financial tracker, but I will not focus on the value of the car, because that's going to change with time. It's going to go down. I don't know how much my CX-50 is worth, or my Emira, or my Miata, and I don't care, because to me, in my mind, it's worth zero. I'm going to make financial decisions based on the car being worth nothing. And this is where some level of resentment can creep in. You're going to be paying a lot of money for your attainable dream car, and if you come from a financially strapped or frugal background, you may start thinking like, hey, I'm spending so much money per month, or even in total on a car, am I getting X number of dollars of value and enjoyment out of it, or could I more effectively allocate that to some other investment or some other source of joy? This car is 2.5 times the price of my Mazda Miata. Does it give me 2.5 times the enjoyment and fun of my Miata? No, definitely not. It does give me more enjoyment and pleasure than my Miata, but definitely not 2.5 times. There's diminishing returns, obviously, as you start upgrading and paying more for more or less a similar class of product. And then there are some downsides of owning a car like this that I never considered in the moment. First of all, you get more attention driving a car like this. It's usually positive attention, but even still, some people like that more than others. It may be ironic since I am on YouTube, and it's cool when people who watch my Kevin Jubal MD or Med School Insiders channel reach out and say hello. Just one med student said hi to me at Costco today when I was shopping with my girlfriend. That was cool. But when it comes to like filling up at the gas station and just feeling like the eyes are on you, it doesn't always make me feel, it makes me feel a little bit uneasy. And I actually prefer cars that are a little bit more under the radar. The other thing is the parking anxiety. So like, I've had close calls even in my CX-50 where like I park the car, I'm about to get out, and someone parking next to me is reversing and they're like almost about to hit me, and I'm like, oh my God, let me just move my car. And when I drive this car and I park this car, I'm extra careful as to where I'm parking it. I'm not going to go to the seedy part of town, even if it has good food. I'm going to take my CX-50 rather than the Emira, because I don't want to risk the car getting damaged or stolen or whatever. One of the downsides of the car is that it actually looks more expensive than it is. It looks like an exotic supercar, right? More so than, you know, a Cayman competitor, even though it is a Cayman competitor. It is, you know, around $100,000, a little bit less depending on how you option it. The other thing is that Vegas roads are not ideal, and this is one of the better roads that we have out here, unfortunately. If I had better windy canyon roads, I'd also probably enjoy the car a bit more than I currently do. And in a way, I'm actually relearning the lessons that I had to learn with my FRS, not to baby the car. I'm essentially repeating the same lesson at just a higher price point. To not let the car own you, to get as much joy and experience and memories as you can out of the car, because you're not taking it with you. When it comes to the driving experience, it's mostly good, right? It's a mix of good and bad with any car. No car is perfect. I love that the car is so engaging and communicative, and finding a car that is this communicative and engaging even at low speeds without having punishing levels of NVH is very rare and very hard to find in modern day. If you go used, it's a lot easier, right? Go 20, 30 years back, but then you have a lot of issues with cars from that era, not just safety, but also, you know, maintenance, reliability. There's so many, you know, hundreds of thousands of miles on the car, and so on. This car, you have hydraulic steering, you have double wishbone suspension, incredible suspension tuning from Lotus as always, exposed shifter linkages, a nice, very mechanical, high effort, and somewhat delicate mechanical transmission that's kind of love-hate. And it will dance with you, and it'll play with you in a way that is so engaging on street. You take it on track, not that great, not that confidence inspiring. It pops out of third gear. If I get it into second, go to red line, and shift into third, that time it's stuck, but oftentimes it'll actually pop out of third, and you can see me drive the car on track. That was a repeat issue. The Cayman, on the other hand, far more planted, way better on track, but on street, it doesn't really feel numb, but it's like there's a few layers of like filtering that occur, and it doesn't feel anywhere near as communicative and playful as the Lotus Emira. This actually has a weight distribution closer to the Porsche 911, which means you really feel the weight transfer, and it'll easily push on the front end if you aren't mindful to get more weight on the front end with a bit of trail braking, or if you're a bit rushed with your throttle application at corner exit. So, did I get seduced by the Lotus Emira? And if I could do it again, how would I do it differently? You know, a big part of this purchase was about feeling like I had deserved it and earned it and worked hard enough to get here. But that wasn't a decision that was optimized for maximizing my long-term happiness. And it's not all bad, right? There are still several moments I walk into my garage and I think, God damn, I can't believe this thing is mine. How sick, even more than a year later. And when I go on dates with my girlfriend, when we drive this car, it just feels more special. She dresses up, I dress up, we drive the Emira. It's just a nice, special occasion, and I love that. But part of me thinks if I was trying to purely maximize just happiness, maybe I would get a cheaper car that I could just really thrash about. You know, I was tired with the FRS GR86, and now I have the Miata that I am going to be tracking. But maybe, I don't know, S2000 as well instead of the Emira. I could modify that, enjoy it even more on track, because this car just doesn't really inspire confidence and feel at home on track. It's more optimized for street, and I could modify it to be better on track, but then it wouldn't be as good on street. I want to keep it on street because I like driving this car so much on the road. The S2000, actually my all-time favorite S2000 was like $80,000 all in, which is not too far from the value of this car. So I guess from a financial perspective, an even worse choice, because that resale value is going to be a lot lower than this. There's no way my girlfriend would want to go on a date night in a hardcore, stiff as fuck Aero S2000 with bucket seats, obviously. But man, I would track the shit out of that thing and get a lot of joy and happiness and not have to worry about it nearly as much. So as for future plans, I do somewhat miss the GR86 just beating on it on track. I had a lot of joy pushing it hard on track, which is why I'm so excited to take the Miata out on track in the very near future. Finally got all the mods installed. You can watch that video right up here. We got roll bar and wheels and tires and brakes and seat lowering bracket and all these goodies, including a steering wheel. And very excited to share that journey with you as I modify it and make it more and more track focused over the months. I haven't been tracking as much over the last year. I do review many viewer cars, your guys' cars on the track, and I take that all very seriously. I'm insured, I'm a driving instructor, I never push other people's cars to 10/10ths, only ever to like 8/10ths, right? I never push it as hard as my own car because I don't want to put that risk onto someone else. Even though I am insured, it's just not worthwhile. So even though it's super fun and I'm very appreciative to drive other people's cars, it's never quite as fun as driving your own car because you just push your car a lot harder. And the Miata is also a phenomenal car, although it is a very distinct and different kind of fun from the Emira. And you can watch that comparison of Miata versus Emira, which one is more fun, linked below. So yes, expensive cars are a trap, but only if you let them be.